I know it's not okay. It's obviously a bad problem. Just imagine what it feels like to be me right now. This is happening to me.
Hello? Hello?
Put your mic on.
Okay, that's good to know.
What?
I have an appointment on Monday, October 27th at 2 p.m.
You gonna go get that checked out?
Dude, I'm telling you, man.
Good.
That
You,
I might need to push one out, but it don't smell like that.
dude, I totally understand, but I'm just saying it is. I mean, it's just I can't help it.
Right, dude, but you know what, man? You're making me sick in the
I
process.
can't help
Don't
it.
do it
I'm
again!
trying.
Don't do it again! I see what you're doing.
I'm trying to hold it.
Well, hold it, dude. Oh!
I can't hold it, man.
No!
They just squeeze right out, dude.
No,
No, I'm
doing it on
not.
purpose.
Oh, man.
Oh, Jesse. Please stop. Oh. Please stop, dude. Please stop. I'm going to throw up, man.
I don't know if I can stop. Dude.
You have to stop, dude. This is not funny anymore.
Oh.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
it's on.
I bet I farted 40 times in the car on a half-hour drive.
And I bet you left the windows up and you enjoyed the whole way.
No, I had the windows cracked. Oh.
I'm serious, dude. You can't keep doing this. I'm not kidding, man. I can't take it. I'm not kidding, dude. You know, I know you think it's funny, but it ain't, man. That ain't right.
I know it's not right. I'm saying I've had a pain in my stomach all day.
Right,
I've had the
well,
shits. I didn't want to come. I felt sick.
Well, I'm glad that you're here.
Oh.
But I'm telling you, man.
I even shat down my leg in the shower.
Oh. All right. I'm done. I can't take no more.
Fantasy football junkies, you are tuned in to the #1 source for fantasy prognostication. It's Testosterone Fantasy Sports with your hosts, Jeff and Jesse. So listen up. Here's your chance to gain the edge over the competition and dominate your fantasy football league. Every week we break down all of the matchups and tell you who to play as well as who should ride the pine. This is the joint that every fantasy junkie needs, so check it out!
Click, click, boom, bitches. It's Jeff and Jesse up in that ass doing this thing we love to do. Testosterone Fantasy Sports in the house. Jeff, week 9 is upon us.
I know, I can't believe it's going so fast. I say that every single week, but it really is true. So hopefully everything's been going well for you in fantasy football. We're here on the set right now. You can tell it's the Vikings purple segment that we've got set up for. So we're excited to have them back. A much needed bye week. We had some bad news throughout the course of that bye week, but we are teeing it up against the Houston Texans on Sunday, and I can't wait. It's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, last week, Jeff, I just I really didn't know what to do with myself. I mean, I was milling around the house, and I couldn't put on my purple garb, which I normally always do, and so I was kind of felt that a little bit at odds, a little bit of a disconnect. But now the Vikings are back in action. We will be talking about that matchup, dissecting it, a very important matchup this weekend against the Houston Texans. But as we are wont to do on this show, we break down all of the matchups throughout the NFL slate of games for the entire week, because not only is the show a purple-related show, but it's a fantasy football show too, for those of you who are new at home. So we will be having our good friends Zach and Yeasty dropping by a little bit later. Jeff, we've got an action-packed show for sure.
Yeah, we're going to discuss all kinds of different things. Of course, we're going to break down the matchups. We definitely want to get it going with the purple segment. We're both real excited that the team is getting back on the field.
Right.
We have a couple positive things, I think, that we have going into this matchup, and there are a couple negatives as well. But I know what you mean, Jesse. Last week, there was like no purple around town or anywhere, and I felt myself just frustrated and pent up, and And then I didn't realize what was happening, you know what I'm saying? I went to U.S. Bank, and the teller there just made me angry. So I decked him right in the eye.
There you go.
Just hit that prick. And I noticed that as his eyes started to swell up, you know, because I'm a pretty buff dude, I jacked him right in the eye.
All right.
It started to puff up and turn purple. And when I saw that glint of the royal color, my heart just calmed down. I settled right down. I started thinking again about the team, and I shook the guy's hand. I told him thank you.
Well, you still owe me 200 for bailing you out, though.
And went along about my merry way. So I feel a lot better now that we're back on the field, and I think it's going to be a good game for us.
It was a bass-ackwards week last week because not only were the Purple not playing, but also there was no Sunday night football because baseball season was intruding upon the real national pastime, which is NFL. And I couldn't be happier. Baseball season's over. I've never been a big baseball guy. I like the Twins, but pretty much could care less about baseball as a whole. This week, it's over. The Phillies won, and it's all about football. The Purple are back on the field, and they will be locking horns with the Houston Texans. As we dive into this matchup, Vikings against Texans, Jeff, I have to admit that I've been very impressed by the Houston Texans, specifically the connection of Matt Schaub to Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson has 40 catches in his last 4 games. Cat has been blowing up. Are you afraid that he could roast our secondary?
Well, I think that's a definite possibility. I mean, our one weakness on defense has been our secondary in the past. They've been having a good season so far because our defensive line really doing a great job of collapsing the pocket against the good professional teams and stuff. So I think that when we're able to get that penetration against opposing offenses, then it makes it easier for the secondary because the quarterback is hurried. His throws are a little bit more errant. So it's all going to depend on the line play. If the offensive line from the Texans is able to contain the Williams wall and Jared Allen on the edge, then they should have a good day. I suspect that with the grizzle, the steroid grizzle that the 2 Williams boys are dealing with, it's going to make them think this is possibly our last game for a little while. Let's play really, really hard. So I think that they could have a bigger effort here in this matchup. So I definitely think that if it's a low-scoring game, it gives us a better chance to win, and I expect big things out of our D-line.
Yeah, as Jeff has alluded to a couple times here in the first segment, if you haven't heard about this already, you're living on planet Mars, but Fox's Jay Glazer broke a story last weekend that both Pat Williams and Kevin Williams could be facing a 4-game league-mandated suspension for taking what he was saying was water pills, which could be used as a masking agent or a steroid masking agent. There is new news coming out as the week is progressing. Certain players that have also been named in this, because it's not just these guys, Deuce McAllister, some other Saints, possibly other players from other teams as well, are really fighting this thing and saying, hey, we're getting the short end of the stick. So we know one thing, and that is that we will have Pat and Kevin in this game. And I think personally that this is going to be really tough sledding for the rookie Steve Slayton. He's a little bit smaller. He's more of a smallish back. And I just think he could really struggle against our formidable front because, like you mentioned, Jeff, if these guys are going to be playing with their hair on fire because they think they could potentially be sitting out for 4 games, I like our run D in this one. I think it's a tough matchup for Slayton.
Yeah, well, I agree that Slayton will have a hard time running between the tackles. However, Slayton is a good all-purpose back, and they do use him in the passing game quite a bit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get 60 yards through the air and possibly into the end zone.
Maybe.
Because they do utilize that aspect of the offense quite well. One note on the Williams boys, you know, if you think about this, it's a water pill, right? It's used for masking when it's used for the incorrect purpose, but its main function is weight loss.
Yeah.
And if you think about Big Kevin, he's like 6'7".
Right.
Big Pat, these guys are giants.
Right.
They don't need strength.
Right.
They've got, God bless, kissed them with strength when they were born.
Absolutely.
They need to cut weight, and I just don't think that they're using this for the incorrect purpose.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I mean, we've talked with Big Pat, and we have been around him. He certainly doesn't seem like the kind of player that would want to circumvent the rules. He's been in the league for a long time, never been in any sort of trouble. I remember when Dwight Smith got mixed up in some marijuana possession situation where he got busted downtown. Pat Williams, Jeff, produced a badge.
Right.
He's an honorary sheriff in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So I just don't see this guy as being a cheater. And he's already come out and he hasn't spoke out specifically against it, but he's saying my situation is different. We're gonna let this play out. And he didn't say it like that because that would be legible audio from an audio perspective. He's hard to understand, but he is saying that this thing is getting blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like these guys are the Bash Brothers where they're sticking each other in the butt with needles. You know what I'm saying? Or rubbing the cream on each other.
Right.
In so merry a fashion. these, are two guys. They're good friends, and I think that they're just trying to stay lean because you have to stay at that level in the NFL. So I definitely give these two guys the benefit of the doubt, and I suspect the same thing for a lot of the players in this situation. I do wonder if perhaps Deuce McAllister, in an effort to rehab his knee that he torched last year, that he may have been putting some of that HGH
right, because
in
Deuce
there.
was another guy listed in this situation.
So, his suspension may stick, but I wouldn't be surprised to see leniency from the front office.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see with that going forward. But, really the biggest defensive question going into the bye, the way that our defense played against the Bears, allowing 48 points in that game, the Kyle Orton looked like Joe Montana. So I do think that although they've had an extra week to prepare for Matt Schaub is proving that when he's allowed time, when he's afforded the opportunity to stand in the pocket, he's got quality targets down the field with Owen Daniels, their tight end, Kevin Walter, who scored 2 touchdowns last week and is a guy you can be playing in fantasy leagues, and of course the aforementioned Andre Johnson. This trio of guys is giving Matt Schaub some weapons to work with, and I know in a couple of your leagues you rolled Matt Schaub out last week to absolutely wonderful results, Jeff.
Yeah, he's having a great season. He's been fun to watch. He dealt with a little bit of grizzle right away, which made him a great buy low candidate.
Right.
If you're on our site, you'll see I do some buy low stuff on my writer page, and he's definitely on there. His schedule is pretty good throughout, so he's a guy that you can win with, averaging 270 yards per game right now. He's throwing 10 touchdowns. That's pretty good for the action that he's had. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him reach those numbers. I think his ceiling is going to be about 303 because they're going to want to try to score. So, like with the Bears game, it was one team scored, the other team answered.
Right.
One team scored, the other team answered. If we would have had decent special teams play in that game and 4 picks, not thrown by Gus, I think that game would have had a different outcome. But I was impressed and very pleased to see them open up the passing offense.
Right,
I like that.
Right, and I'm going to be watching to see what they've done over the bye week at the linebacker position, because it was obvious in that game that we were really missing E.J. Henderson. But on the flip side of the ball, Jeff, we got to talk a little bit about what our offense is going to be able to do against Houston's D. Now, Houston's D came into the season being touted as one of these vastly improving units, led by Mario Williams, the big hulking defensive end. He's had some moments, but hasn't been stellar or overpowering like he looked like he might be towards the end of last season. What do you think the game plan should be for the Purple going against Houston?
Well, we're going to run the ball. That's what we do. It's our bread and butter. I really like the play action that Bernard Berrien has been able to add into the mix. He's kind of quietly crept up to number 13 on the yardage list for receivers. So that's a really nice thing to see. I think this is a great matchup for him. You can go ahead and play him here against the Texans.
Agree.
He's going to be locked up against Dante Robinson, and so I do think that Dante, who's a pretty talented guy, could have a pick or maybe even 2. You might question my biases because I do have him in my IDP league. But at the same time, Berrien has been really turning it on, and I like to see that a lot. So
yeah, absolutely.
As far as the running game goes, it's going to be Adrian a lot, and so I would like to see them come with a little bit more outside-of-the-box approach at getting him the ball on the edge to use his speed. So I hope that they've done that, added a wrinkle or 2 over the bye week.
Well, I'm expecting big things from Adrian here. We told you heading into the bye week that we were kind of viewing that breakout game, so to speak, against the Bears as the beginning of Adrian starting to get his legs underneath him. Now he's got some juicy matchups coming up over the next month, a month and a half. So I think fantasy owners that have held on to him so far, that have not seen these big runs and big plays that we've come to expect from him, I think they're going to be rewarded again here. I like Adrian for a big game here. And of course, as you mentioned, the fantasy owners need to be starting Berrien on a weekly basis. The other guy you can really consider here is Visanthe Shenko because they keep him involved.
I really like Shenko as well. I think he makes a good number 2 tight end, for bye week purposes. His hands are still a little bit stony, but at least his eyes aren't. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
He's not, doing some things that other players. He's been real healthy, and he does block well. So I'm impressed by the turnaround.
Yeah, if you're with Jason Witten, who might not play this weekend, maybe Shenko's sitting out there on the wire. You got a bye week grizzle problem for your tight end.
Hey, I'm gonna pick up Shenko in one league, the Puff League this week.
There you go.
I'm gonna be picking him up and using him against Namdi. Big shout out to my opponent this week.
There you go. Well, it's definitely going to be a good game to watch, a fun game to watch. hopefully the Purple are able to come out of there with a W. We're still in the mix for the division title, which is ultimately the thing it's probably going to take for us to make it into the postseason. So I think it's about that time, Jeff. Halloween right around the corner. By the time this show airs, Halloween will be just in the books. We have an annual tradition right here on Testosterone. We like to break out our good friend, the Purple Reaper, to cast a spell over the opposition. And this week, the Houston Texans.
Death to the Texans. Kill the Texans. Death to Texans.
What are we going to do to Matt Schaub?
We're going to kill Matt Schaub. We're going to sack Matt Schaub. We're going to dig a grave in the Metrodome and plant Matt Schaub.
What are we going to do to Steve Slayton?
We're going to let Steve Slayton have 60 yards and a touchdown.
How many leagues do you have Steve Slayton in?
One.
What are we going to do to Andre Johnson?
Andre Johnson will do nothing in this game. Hopefully he stays healthy, but no yards, only 3 receptions, 13 yards.
How about Kevin Walter?
Kill the Texans. Kevin Walter, I don't care about. Death only likes primetime players.
All right, well, we're going to take a brief break. Thanks for stopping by, Reaper. I got to get out of here. We'll be back after this.
Wicked, LT's going to have a big game.
I think it's scary. LT could just blow up this weekend.
Come on, you guys. Seriously, you're supposed to act scared. Alex didn't even have the right camera shot.
What?
Seriously.
You're not scary.
Sorry, bro. Just not scared.
I mean, I don't know what to do, Skeletor. It was just like those guys didn't get it. I'm Death. I'm supposed to be scary, and they're just not scared. I just don't understand, man. That's hot coffee.